Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter.
Greetings all. Welcome to TV Skywriter. I'm Pat Murray, your host. The show emanates from Durham, North Carolina. I talk to people all over the world, people who are interesting, people who are artists, musicians, authors, entrepreneurs, whatever. But today I'm talking to one of my neighbors, a fellow Durhamite, named Josh Buczynski. He is a paper toy designer. If you've never met one, here he is, Mr. Buczynski. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Pat. It's good to be on here. I really like the stuff you make.
Absolutely. Did I meet you at the toy store on 9th Street or Happy Mess in Durham?
I think the first place you met me was Happy Mess, but I'd seen your toys at the Playhouse Toy Store before that.
Okay. Because actually I've seen your toys also at Happy Mess. So and now you're at the Scrap Exchange working there, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Since September as a volunteer and then October as an employee.
Awesome. So tell us about these paper toys. I've never seen anything like it. These are toys that require some creativity and people with fun attitudes toward life. And show us what you got.
Well, I make paper toys that are posable. My website is called Paper Posables, and it's something that I've been really obsessed with. I grew up as a kid. I liked Lego. I liked robots, Japanese animation, and trying to find these toys and get as much of them as possible was one of my goals. And at a certain point, I needed to have more. So around 2004, I saw some really great toys, and I learned from them, and I started designing my own. So it's been over 10 years now where I've been doing things like this. And each year, past a certain point, I was able to design one system and then design a new system, and until I finally got to the latest system I have, which is called Pop Locks, and it's a way to attach paper together without using any glue at all. You just put a little plus inside of some holes, connect those pieces, and then you have a freely rotatable joint.
Cool.
A quick example is this little guy right here. There's a little crab robot.
Oh, I love him.
And you can see there's a little connector right there. It holds his face on. It just rotates. And then anywhere else, you can have rotation as well.
Wow. So did you invent that, or is that an idea that you've seen somewhere else?
It's based on some things I've seen. There was a really awesome Star Wars toy from about 2003, and it was made by a Japanese paper toy designer, and he included elements in the design that allowed the legs to rotate at the shoulder, at the elbow, and then a special loose joint at the bottom where the foot connects to the ankle. And I took inspiration from that. He made an axle, and I was trying to figure out how could I make this piece using less parts. His axle used about 7 to 9 components. And my quest has been to reduce that so I could cut this thing out easily, make a lot of them, and not lose my mind assembling it all together.
I didn't know that you were actually solving a problem while creating your paper toy. So you were actually making something more efficient that you had done before.
Yeah. So I took this wish, and I had developed different systems, things that improved on the axle design. One was called the flat axle design, and I was able to turn that into a great toy, and I'll show that off soon. The next iteration was something called the screw-in flat axle, where you could assemble the part and then actually attach it into another part on the same toy, and I'll show that soon. And then finally I got to Pop Locks when I worked with my friend Alexander Gwynn, another fellow paper toy designer, and we did a joint collaboration where each of us showed each other our ideas, and then during this I created the idea that simplified everything. I think it's as elegant as I can get.
That's nice to have elegance and efficiency in mind. That's pretty cool. That means that it's easily reproducible and also easier for the kid. I mean, you don't want to spend all your time making something. You want to eventually play with it, right? So
exactly.
For the children, too.
So one of the first kits I designed looked very much like this guy right here. This is a funny little robot that I called Guppy.
Nice.
And he has a boxy head, he has a hat, and then arms, a pelvis, and then legs attached to them.
Wow.
So everywhere you see the connector, again, there's free rotation.
That is so smart.
Thank you. And then here you can see the shoulders attached by the pop lock piece going through.
Uh-huh.
And then just attach them. I think I can rotate this in the camera.
Sweet.
You can see the pop lock rotate with this piece as well.
Nice.
So this was a solution to that problem, and I've been putting these patterns onto my website with a Creative Commons license so that people are free to download them and modify them, assemble them, and it's been great. I've been able to share this with the internet, with people around Durham as well.
Nice. Now, were you the kid in the back of the room drawing in class when you were small, or are you more the take apart the vacuum cleaner to figure out how it works kind of kid?
A little bit of both. I was in the front of the class, and I was always drawing on the margins of my pages, sketches, cartoons. I love Disney, comic books, just always trying to draw something funny and entertain myself. As for taking stuff apart, I did that, and the one thing I regret the most is I took apart my original Optimus Prime Transformer.
Ooh.
And I think that's where some of the obsession comes from. I still want to be able to recreate that mistake, or recreate like the fix for that mistake. I broke the arm in the inside, and it's going to take another 45 years to really forgive myself.
It's okay. We all forgive you. Don't worry about that.
Thank you.
So, so you were always drawing cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever really get into it in terms of school? I mean, did they use your talents for anything? Like, for example, okay, just give a case in point. I used to draw cartoons all the time, and I attended Kenwood High School. It's not called Academy, but Kenwood High School in Chicago, and they actually had me to draw the figures for the mural that was on display in the hallway of the gym building. They took it down recently, so it lasted a good, let's see, how old am I? A good 30-odd years.
That's great.
It's not too shabby. Not too shabby. Actually, wait, 40. Boy, how old am I?
Well, that's a really good long lifetime for a piece of art that's in a building like that. That's great.
Yeah, so did you get the opportunity to do things like that? Did your teachers recognize something in you?
Yeah, I had really, really good art teachers. In middle school, I had Mrs. Stunts, who was just wonderful. It was the first time I got to use an Apple II, the color computer, with what comes with Windows now, Paint. That was the first time I got to use a program that acted like that, and I was able to make pixel art and print it out. And then in high school, I was able to. I had a great teacher who also gave me great ideas, gave me materials. She gave me time, and I was able to then produce some things like the cover for a play booklet. I think Canterbury Tales was the one. I just drew a piece like a ghostly armor haunting a mansion.
Ooh, okay. That's cool. So when did you get more intrigued about how things work? Because I suppose the same curiosity that you have probably shared by people who make more mechanical type tools and things that require screwdrivers and nails and all that kind of stuff.
That's exactly it. I grew up as the son of a cabinet maker, so I had been doing that type of stuff since the age of 4. My first job ever was sweeping in my dad's shop. And from there, my second job was picking the correct number of screws out of a bag so he could assemble a piece on the next cabinet he was building. And then I just moved up from there until I was running machinery, cutting boards, and even assembling entire cabinets by myself.
Well, this is totally making sense now. This is totally. So you grew up in an environment where things were being made.
All the time, yes.
And you also got to see things being made in a modular kind of way. Where you put the parts together. You get a bunch of parts and then get the pieces to put them together and then put them together.
Yeah, and then I'd have to say that unlike most cabinet makers, my dad really wanted a certain sense of accuracy. I keep telling people that he really wanted me to do all the cuts at like 1/200th of an inch in precision. So I take that same idea of working too hard to make something look right, and then I've been able to bring it to paper really well, and I think that it helped me to be able to iterate and to fail and try again over and over.
So do you draw the little monsters or the little animals first and then figure out how to make them? Or do you just go creative and just cut things out and just see what happens?
I have about two approaches. I'll start with the face of something, and I'll try to think, how can I replicate that in 3D? Or how can I take that in 2D and fold it so it becomes 3D?
Oh, that's clever.
So a monster like this, right here. This is a little chompy robot that you can find on my website called Toof. There we go. Now we can see him.
Yeah.
And this is just a simple little cube with a mouth. He's a big mouthy guy, and then legs stuck on the side.
Sweet. I love him.
Anywhere where there's the rotating joints, you can also open and close or move.
Oh, wow.
So he makes a funny pose here.
Nice.
And this is the prototype. This is the original one I made about 3 years ago.
Okay. So actually, someone can take that mouth, that part, where he opens his mouth, and put their logo or something.
Mm-hmm. So these come from a series of toys I called Super Combiners. The idea was that you could take the other toys, like this crazy blockhead here with long arms,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could combine them together a lot like this. So all of a sudden now it's a mouth with an eye on top that can also look around, and he has arms.
Oh, okay. Where he didn't before.
Mm-hmm.
So what
So I really wanted this to be a building system.
So okay, so I see the holes, at the side of the head there. So can you put something on the side of his head as well?
Oh, absolutely. There's other little pieces that would either stick out like antennas, go up and down, or in the case of the crab robot, there's two of these bar arms on top that then allow the arms to go out.
Oh, that is
And then
cool.
you can apply some nice artful bending and get some really nice shapes going.
Okay. So how do you present your paper toys? In other words, when you sell them, do you sell them per critter, or do you just provide a bunch of parts and just leave it to the child to figure out what to make?
When I was designing toys on my website at first, I started out with kits, like download this creature and produce it. And one of the things I had was this one right here. This is one of my first creations on my website, and this is actually a modified version by a fan. This one was called Pokobot, and you can see it has a head that rotates.
That is unbelievable.
And arms. And the thing that this fellow did, and you can find it in one of the recent posts on my blog, he added elbow joints, this right here,
Mm-hmm.
and knee joints. This has much more articulation than the one I designed. Because I have a Creative Commons license, he had free access to modify the pattern and go ahead and make it his own. It really is quite incredible what he was able to do.
So Creative Commons means that he is not, what is it? You don't have to worry about copyright? How does that work with Creative Commons?
The Creative Commons is a kind of a replacement for copyright, or an overlay, in the sense that I get to choose the rights that I keep and the rights that you as the consumer gets to keep. So for my Creative Commons, it's typically, it's called buy, and well, first of all, you attribute the creation to me in anything that you create and distribute. It's also non-commercial, but then also there's something called share alike, where anything that you make based on mine, you have to then share through the same Creative Commons license. So it's kind of hierarchical, but it also allows the next person in the line to really change it up and keep those changes for themselves as well.
Okay, so suppose the person who added the knees and elbows,
Mm-hmm.
so he can't turn around and sell that. Is that what you mean?
Exactly, because I have a non-commercial license on that particular model.
Okay, I see.
But then he's able to converse with me later, and we could do something later with that.
Okay, so later if you decided to consider this an upgrade and to implement it in future versions of what you're going to sell, he would probably get something too, right?
Absolutely, yep, because he made those vital changes.
That's clever, because I've heard of Creative Commons before. I just thought it was for music. I saw a video where this Brazilian musician, Gilberto Gil, he was talking about how he can write a song, and make it available via Creative Commons. You can take one of Gilberto Gil's songs and then make a song of your own, and that's okay. He won't sue you for copyright infringement. And I think what you just said, I don't think you can take a Gilberto Gil song and then sell it, put it on a CD and then put it, sell it like as a CD single. I don't think you can do that. But you can play around with it.
Exactly, yeah. I really liked the idea of that remix culture, like with Gilberto. And you can do the same thing with even printed works or files that you can print out. You can assign the correct license applications for the Creative Commons 3.0 license, and then you get what you want, and everyone else gets what they want too.
I like it. Show us one of those packages you were showing me earlier. It's 8.5 by 11, and you have the instructions and like a really beautiful instruction sheet with ghosting. I'll let you explain.
Sure. Yeah, so I do have the kits on my website, which are free to download, free to modify, but I have been working on kits where I can produce something and then I can bring it to a retailer, or I can use my own shop and then sell it. And one of the bigger pop lock toys I have is called an emoji bot, or in this case, a mini bot. And this is the kit for it. This is the cover sheet. And
beautiful.
This is the illustration on it. It tells you what's inside. You get 3 pages, and then when you open it, on the back is the entire instruction panel for how to assemble it. You get to learn how to use pop locks. It shows you what they are, how to line up the pieces and fold the pop lock, and then it shows you how it looks when it's connected together. And you just take that, and you start looking at all the pieces here. Here's how you make a leg. You take a long, in this case, you take these long shapes and fold them up like that yellow shape there. You take these other long shapes and fold them up, and then that makes the arm, which you can see, that makes the foot, which you can see right here, partially assembled.
Nice. I like the little ghosting element there, where you can see it kind of faintly, and then you can see what to do with it.
I had to differentiate between the pieces that you need to use and then exactly where they go onto the other parts. This is the assembly for the head, and it shows you which pieces go on top of each other, which pieces go behind. And then we switch to the 3D view. It shows you what to do next, and then how to seal it up at the back. And then here's where it all comes together.
Beautiful.
And you stick in the eye plate, and then even in this, the eye is posable. You can slide it back and forth.
Wow.
And change his expression. One of the reasons I called them emoji bots at first.
Nice.
Thank you.
So do you...
I have an example of those right here.
Okay.
This is the prototype from about 2 years ago of a mini bot. And you can see it has a spherical head, has the eyes prominent in the front here. And then because the mouth is attached right here at this point, and on the other side, the mouth also opens and closes.
Oh,
and then the eyes are going to fall out. This is a lot more loose than the later ones.
Okay.
So it's undergoing some new stresses.
Yeah.
And it has some other fun elements like the arms move.
Sweet.
And the legs are also posable. And it has a funny foot.
I like that. We can march too. Okay.
You can jump through the air. Yep. So later that evolved into different materials. I shrunk the amount of parts that were used, and let me jump over to get this guy here. This is a much more recent example, and this is produced with material that I've been using from the scrap exchange. It's a laminated paper, so it's plastic.
Nice.
It's much more durable. The pieces slide on each other much more easily, and it's just sturdier. It's very strong. Let's see if we can get that correctly. There we go. And here's the example of the eyes moving, because it's just another piece of paper inside.
Nice. Nice.
And on my website, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, and the mouth moves, On
my website, I found that these characters were so posable, I actually produced a story where this guy and 2 others meet each other, and I was surprised by how expressive I got them to be. It's like still frames from a movie for me, and I just need to find the time now to do a stop motion animation of them. I've seen people do stuff with similar material. It's possible.
Nice. So with the kits that you were making, you provide the paper, or are they supposed to print out the designs on their own paper?
Both, actually. The first time I started selling the kits was as PDF files that you could download off my website. I have super combiners, these little cubic guys. There's 8 of them. And I also have Guppy, which is a 2, and you download it, you print it on 65-pound cardstock, or even 110-pound cardstock. You have to then get a 5/8 inch circle hole punch. It's very necessary for saving your sanity. You don't want to cut out 72 small circle holes with just a knife.
Yeah.
You can save so much time by just going like this and going snap and cutting the circle out that way.
So is the average hole punch the right size? You know, the kind you get for school?
No, that's actually probably a 1/4 inch. You need to go to a craft store like Michael's or AC Moore, and in the scrapbooking aisle, you'll find all of the 5/8 inch hole punches, as well as other sizes. You could even you could scale this up and make a bigger pop block and bigger parts to attach together. And I've been successful in increasing the size of pop blocks up to 8 times the current size, from 1 1/4 inch up to nearly 10 inches in size for every piece.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so about the 65 and 110-pound paper, that refers to the thickness.
Mm-hmm.
We're used to dealing, I mean, the average citizen is probably accustomed to 20 inch. 20, what's it, pound?
20 pound, yes.
20-pound paper from, you know, like when you're photocopying things.
Exactly.
It's usually 20 pound. And 24-pound is usually like resume paper.
Yeah, the nice stuff.
So when you're talking about 65 and 110, I'm wondering, is that easy to find?
Yeah, you can go to Staples, you can go to Michael's, you can go to even Walmart, and go to the craft paper aisles or even the office paper aisles, and you can find all of these types of papers in a ream. You can get up to 250 sheets of the thick stuff, whereas you get 500 sheets in a typical 20-pound photocopy paper pack.
Okay.
And it's a good price. You can get a lot of toys, out of 250 pages of cardstock. And if you want to think about the thickness, if you ever held an index card in your hand, it's that same kind of, well, I can probably even make the noise here. Just a thick type of paper. It doesn't, when you bend it, it doesn't stay.
What about construction paper? Is that thick enough?
Construction paper is usually a very soft, fibery material, and it creases easily, and it soaks up moisture easily. It's probably not the best toy or the paper to use for these types of toys, because you want to have something that has rigidity, it can keep a structural shape, because you want to be able to play with it too.
Right. The cool thing is you get to color it yourself, right? I mean, I can imagine, if you're buying 110 or 65-pound paper, that it's going to all be in one color, I guess. They don't come in multicolor packs, do they?
On the contrary, you can buy a 25-color pack or so from Michael's, and it's only $12.99. You get a couple of pages of each color in there, and so blues, grays, black, white, tan, green, all 3 different shades of green, 4 different shades of blue. You really can't be stopped by all that choice, and I'm working on making more colors available. Currently, I've been sticking with like 6 colors. I have my favorite 6, and it's from Staples right now. But I also did have my favorite 5 at one point, and it was from somewhere else. So I'm using what is the most available, and then also the most capable of making color contrasts and color choices. Quick choices.
Great. I'm really happy to know that you can get, because back in the days when I, in Chicago, when I was dealing with 110 stock paper, I could only get them in single color packs. So I'm glad to know things have changed. This is great. So
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
The scrapbooking industry is one of the things that really enabled me. If I hadn't gotten a 5/8 inch and a 1 inch and a 1/4 inch hole punch from the scrapbooking aisle at different craft stores, it would have slowed me down. I wouldn't have tried to experiment as much as I did.
Well, that makes sense, because the last time I was dealing with different card stocks and whatnot, that was way before the scrapbooking trend. You know, I know that was a fad for a while. I don't know if it still is.
I think it's still going on. We receive a lot of material at the scrap exchange where people that are scrapbookers donate some of their materials, and it's recent, and it's beautiful too.
If you don't mind, why don't you tell us a little bit about the scrap exchange? We've mentioned it a few times, and people are probably like, what is that? So tell us what the scrap exchange is.
It's a nonprofit that's existed for over 20 years. It is a place you go to find reusable materials, and the scrap exchange actually goes out, collects what we call industrial discards. Let's say you work at a fabric company and you do furniture restoration, but you have a lot of rolls left over that you're not going to use. The scrap exchange will take them. Same if you are doing assembly line work or manufacturing with metals or packaging. We take extra tape, extra metal, extra plastic components, and one of the big things that we love to get is from a nylon factory here in Durham. We like the cardboard tubes that hold all of the nylon thread that goes into these machines. They're amazingly beautiful. They have colorful patterns like stripes and stars, and they come in a rainbow assortments, and they're one of our best things that we have. We just have blue barrels full of them, and children can come by and pick out the best ones that they want and start building with them right away.
You know, it's funny. I bought a couple of those, and I can't figure out what to do with them. I just bought them because I liked how they looked. What are people doing with those? They're like they're cones. They're cylindrical, but they taper a bit at the end. What do people do with those?
Wow, those are really great materials for doing large-scale costumes. If you get like 20 of those, you automatically have like a spiky shell or a horned helmet. It's easy just to take like a pipe cleaner or some string and attach that to a piece of cardboard that you use as a hat or like a barrette, and then instantly have something you can wear on your head. Kids can just go into the make and take room and grab from these barrels, and using tape and staples and scissors, they can just assemble what they want out of all of these great, surprisingly creativity-inducing objects that we've collected there.
Nice. I just wanted you to tell us about the scrap exchange because I suppose there might be a few people in this area who've never heard of the scrap exchange. I can't imagine who. Because another thing the scrap exchange does, which I really like, is that they, if there's a festival, a local festival, when I say local, I mean I think you guys go out to Chapel Hill and Raleigh and Hillsborough too, probably. But whenever there's a festival with a kids' tent or kids' area, you guys bring these big blue plastic barrels just full of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the kids just have so much fun playing and making things. So that's right up your alley, isn't it?
Yeah, that's still in my wheelhouse.
How about that? So what are your big plans? So you're making what we call paper posables. Yes. And you're saying that your toys are called pop locks. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, do you have a big plan for the future, or are you just going to continue to make things more efficient step by step, or do you have a huge final plan in mind for the rest of us that love to play with your toys?
I have a 10-year plan, and it has 3 to 4 steps in it. First, I started out with paper. Mm-hmm. And once I knew that paper was great and easy to work with, I knew I had to go on to something stronger. And I've been experimenting with plastic and plastic laminates. So, for instance, the robot kit here, all the pages that are in this are plastic laminated, and I do this all at home. Eventually, it'll be professionally produced. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if the camera will show this, but you can see that it's shiny. You see the light reflected there.
Oh yeah, nice. Oh, that is sweet. How'd you do that?
What I do is I just take you can also buy paper that is colorful and is 24-pound in thickness. Because it's thinner, I can laminate it and still cut it out on a machine I have here at home, and it does it all in one pass.
Nice.
And I've been able to produce a whole bunch of kits. In October, I worked on this kit here, called Pose Monsters. And it comes with enough sheets to make 3 Halloween monsters, a skeleton. You can see where the connectors are.
Nice.
A pumpkin-head scarecrow, and probably 2 creepy spider. I don't know if that one's kid-friendly, but I like real monsters, so together they're great. That. And I brought this to the Durham Arts Council. We did a what I call an artist guest at a summer camp. I was a guest artist, and during 2 different events, I was absolutely floored by the creativity that happened. The kids took these parts and they made things that I didn't intend. They made actual like cartoon characters that weren't monsters. They made way creepier monsters than I made, and you can see all of these materials on my website. I've photographed the more remarkable things and put them on my blog, and I'm just astounded still. Every time I go in front of these children, they're showing me that they're way too creative, and I can't keep up with them. So I just have to keep trying.
See, I wanted to ask you about other materials like corrugated plastic and corrugated cardboard, and I'm wondering if you've messed around with foam board at all. I've seen people put laminate signs to foam board that they got from, like, I guess places like Kinko's.
Yes.
Have you fooled around with those materials?
At one point, I was at a maker fair, and my friend Joe Diver and we made a giant version of one of the smaller pop-lock creatures. He then put a Raspberry Pi computer inside, along with a camera, and we turned this into something we called ShareBot. Children then positioned the toys they made in front of ShareBot's eye, and then the eye looked at the piece, and then they used Joe was able to hook up a Nintendo Wii remote to the robot so that when you pressed the button, it took a picture. It was just one of those things that you do at maker fairs and the Museum of Life and Science here in Durham to just knock people senseless with how cool technology can be. So yeah, it's worked in corrugated cardboard and in thicker plastics as well. And eventually I want to move up to more advanced materials such as metal or even cloth. It'd be an interesting thing to find out what you can make with cloth that could be attached together in pieces. And then beyond that...
Good idea, because I can imagine kids in the hospital, okay, bored to death, all right, and paper materials might, as they roll over, if they fall asleep and roll over, they crush them or mess them up if they were cardboard. I can imagine a kid making toys out of soft materials, and if they fall asleep and roll over them, it wouldn't be a problem. That could work.
Yeah, thicker plastics are one of the things that I know I can cut with my current tools. It's just that finding and sourcing these materials at a good price it's proving to be a challenge, but it's something that me and my friends are working on right now.
Is there a way to cut aluminum? Because aluminum is very lightweight. I don't know how the edges are in aluminum because I'm not an artist. I've never fooled around with it. But is that a material that you might think about using?
Potentially. The one thing about aluminum, though, is, well, the pop-lock design requires that you fold a little paper plus in order to put it back in, and it has to have a certain amount of springiness.
Oh.
Aluminum might be like you fold it and it's folded, and it stays that way.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But it would be a really good experiment. Aluminum is something that we're starting to work with at the Scrap Exchange. We have a device that can melt it, and then we can do lost foam casting inside of sand, which is just an amazing way of creating bespoke items. And it's just fun.
Maybe all the parts could be cut out of aluminum, but the little parts that you fold in, the little connectors, maybe those can be a softer material.
Absolutely. A mixed media solution is probably the only one that would work for cloth, because you really can't use a piece of cloth to insert into a hole, and then it won't spring back. It won't put pressure on either side of other pieces of cloth. But maybe with some metal that has some springiness to it, yeah, it would be really fun. It's something I've really wanted to try out, but you get the right materials, you're there at the right time, then you can do it.
Interesting. Okay. So I know you said you had a 10-year plan, and I don't expect you to tell us everything you plan to do, because then people steal your ideas. But I am curious about where you see this going. And let's put you ahead 3 years. Where do you expect to be in 3 years?
In 3 years, I would love to have kits for sale in plastic, solid plastic, so that it's free from damage from water It can hold a really good paint job on it with really great textures. It's also then easily modifiable by kids with scissors and with other tools. And I want it to be a durable toy that stands up to the test of time. You can play with it over and over again. You can take parts apart, put parts back together, and just keep going. Then there's other materials that you can add. Like this is one of my first paper toys. This came way before pop locks, way before the flat axles. This is when I had too much time and too much time to dream as well. And this is a robot called FaceBot. And I've never shown this anywhere on the web before. This is the second version of FaceBot.
Nice.
And he has great posability. Anywhere arms, the heads move like that.
Nice.
And his legs as well. But there's one difference between these and the other parts, and it's this.
Whoa.
It comes apart.
Whoa.
And it goes back together.
Wait a minute. How'd you do that?
There's a magnet inside this side, and a magnet in there as well. And all you have to do is align them up, and they connect. And you can then go ahead and swap parts. Oop. And there you go. Very modifiable. The problem with this kit, there are $9 of magnets inside of this toy, so there was a barrier.
Plus, if a child accidentally tears it apart, then the magnets become a swallowing hazard, right? So.
They have always been a hazard with all neodymium magnet toys, yes. It's the news of that type of problem occurred as I was designing this. Whoops. Yeah. I was very crestfallen.
I can imagine. I mean, it's a great idea, but, you don't want to be blamed for the, choking death of a child or anything like that.
No, not at all.
So I like your pop locks idea a lot better anyhow, because they're, I don't know, they just look more fun somehow.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much.
So
I also, one more thing I want to quickly show. I've switched over from fancy magnetic designs, and I've decided I can build small, but I can also build big. So here is a bigger robot version of the mini-bot. So he's not quite miniature. He's got big broad shoulders and a huge head. He's like a big lug. And of course, everywhere there's a connector, it's posable.
Nice.
And then the head can rotate as well. He's got a big chin. Awesome back. Just a lot of great robot, a lot of great armor design. Something I was just happy to produce. And this is a 2-year-old design, and it's something I need to revisit. The big robots, they take a lot of time, but when I get one, it's going to be great.
I mean, it's almost life size.
Oh, yeah, there we go. That's the scale right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's life size. I mean, for a child.
Oh, yeah, sure. This, when it's finished, it would be about 24 inches tall, maybe 18 inches tall.
Yeah.
And probably maybe just 8 pages of paper total.
Not
as low as that.
Not bad. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a crazy question. If you read about the history of certain toys, you will discover that the TV shows, you have the TV shows and you have the merchandise.
Oh, yeah.
There are some toys that were made, or rather, some TV shows that were made to sell the toys, as opposed to the other way around. So, have you thought of maybe putting together some kind of a TV show using your robots as characters, and that could help you sell some toys? It could be a YouTube series, right?
It could be something I produce or a friend produces. It's not going to be the size of Transformers or G.I. Joe or Polly Pocket or something from the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s. That's for sure. It's not going to be Angry Birds. But yeah, if you start out, if I were to produce something and it had a lot of character, and if it could animate well, yeah, people start knocking at your door. It's a possibility.
Yeah, think about that, because I'm thinking somebody's going to come along eventually, since you have the Creative Commons thing going, and they're going to put together a, what do you call it, the stop animation?
Stop motion animation.
Stop motion
like
animation.
Nightmare Before Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine somebody putting together a show or video and sending it to you, and you're okaying it, and then putting it on YouTube, and then everybody will be clamoring for your toys. That's the way I see it.
Well, thankfully, I've already had some animations given to me. People have taken PocoBot and they've taken FaceBot on my website, and they've uploaded YouTube videos of them dancing, and it's just been absolutely incredible. PocoBot is dancing to German techno, and his head rotates and his body rotates, and he does funny kicks in the air. It's really early on in my blog. If you scroll through there, you'll find it. The same with the FaceBot as well. You'll find it doing just really great kind of motions, and I've always been shocked when I've seen it. Also, my friend James Fritzler and his children took the Halloween toys, and they made them chasing from the side, running after spiders, and then the two characters fight each other for who gets to eat the spiders. And it's really hilarious. And it's something they made it in an afternoon.
Wow, I'm going to go to your website and check those out. So tell us about your website, because obviously we're going to need to go to it to see these videos. Down, because you said that these toys are also downloadable?
Yes. So my website is paperposables.com, and that's like paper, and then posables is spelled a little bit differently from what your spell check would say. It's Poseables.
Okay.
If you type in Pop Locks or Paper Posables, Google will, of course, help you find it.
Okay. That's really good. So you would probably tell people to buy the paper first and to try to get the 65 or 110-pound paper.
Yes.
And what else will they need? Will they need, what, scissors, and what else?
You'll definitely need a 5/8" circle hole punch, which you can find at the craft aisle at Michael's, AC Moore, Hobby Lobby, Amazon, any place that sells scrapbooking supplies. You'll find these types of circle punches. And they're about $3 to $5 each.
Okay.
But you'll also need nice scissors. Get some scissors that you can control really easily with your hands. Get a craft knife, like a X-Acto knife, so you can cut out finer details if you want to.
Okay.
And then beyond that, just bring in other tools that you want to add on parts. There was a crafter from Australia. She took my toys and bedazzled them with stick-on, not sequins, but like little plastic gems and googly eyes.
Of course.
And she used her own paper. And there's so much fancy, like so much mirth in these designs. Like I hadn't seen them in that way before, and it was so great. And that's from an artist named Susan Blue Robot, and she has her own website as well.
Nice. You got to have the googly eyes. I mean, when I saw the eyes, I was thinking you got to have some googly eyes up there, and some sequins and glue with the glitter.
Oh man, any type of scrapbooking material will make any paper toy that you download from any website so much more creative and so much more yours.
Nice. So with that, I wanted to thank you so much, Josh Buczynski, for being on the show. Anything else you wanted to tell us? I mean, do you have anything in the works that you will be adding to your website anytime soon?
I am going to try to start adding a physical purchasing shop so that you can buy a kit like Pop Locks Freeforms, which of course is freely downloadable, but you'll be able to get them in materials such as laminated plastic, and you'll get special instructions included for making flowers and butterflies, frogs, dinosaurs, and you'll also find most of this on my website for free as well. But also in stores.
Not everybody can get access to nice laminated paper and plastic, so that's cool.
And then I'll have kits available in other locations, starting here in Durham, and then eventually spreading outward. At the Scrap Exchange, I had this for sale at one point. This is the dodecaball. It's a geometric shape, and you can see I had the co-branding there as well.
Oh, yeah.
This was made from material that I bought from the Scrap Exchange, and it really enabled me to try something different. So I've been really thankful about that.
That's cool. You are working at the perfect place.
Exactly.
Now, I like the partnership as well. That's nice. Okay. So, Josh, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Pat.
And so, folks, you go to Paper Posables, that's with an E, paperposables.com. And, and like you said, you can go to Pop Locks as well.
Yep. And then all of that and more.
Nice. And with that, I say good night. Now, if you'd like to be on TV Skywriter, you don't have to be from Durham. I've talked to people in England and Canada, and I'm looking forward to talking to people just all over the place who are very interesting, who make things, who are writers, dancers, musicians, whatever. If you're really interesting and you've got something to say, just write to me, durhamskywriter@gmail.com, and to explain what Durham Skywriter is. TV Skywriter is kind of like an offshoot of the Durham Skywriter. That's an online community paper that I do here in Durham, North Carolina. You can see that at durhamskywriter.com, so check that out, especially if you've never seen an all-positive community paper. Yes, indeed. With that, good evening. I will see you next time. Ciao for now. I'll see you, Josh.
All right. Thanks again, Pat.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.